Okay, in today's video, I'm going to walk you through the process of dimensioning so that you can see some of the specifics on how to create tolerances and how to add notes to a particular drawing for proper notation. So we're going to go ahead and start with figure 6-59 bearing. This is part of the Inventor third set multi-view drawing and dimensioning assignment. And we'll go ahead and grab our title block here, and I'll go ahead and grab the views necessary for this to work. So I'm going to grab the first object here, the bearing, hit OK, and I'm going to go ahead and scale that 1:1. And what I really want to do is set this up so that I do not have as many hidden lines as possible here. I want to have the least amount of hidden lines possible with the views I select. So I want to be able to select the views properly. And as I turn this thing around here, I'm going to see that I do have a hole on the view here. So when I set this up, I really want to make sure that I have a clear view of that particular feature that I can then dimension that feature. So I'll go ahead and set up the multi-view drawing in this way and then let that lay itself out here. And what I notice here is that the way I'm laying this out, I have hidden lines for the face of this, so that's not going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that view and go ahead and grab the view again and then attempt to find the proper view for this particular drawing. So if I'm turning this and looking at this from this view, this could become my front view. It looks like that would be a visible view here of that hole. And go ahead and drop my top view and then my right side view. Hopefully that's going to work out. So yep, now I can see that I have a visible line representing that hole in the top boss feature of that part. And I now can continue to move forward with dimensioning. So as I begin the dimensioning process, I'm going to go and I'm going to reference my 9 easy steps for great dimensioning cheat sheet here, where the first thing I definitely want to do is place all center marks and center lines necessary. So that's the first thing I'm going to do here. I'm going to grab my annotation tab. I'm going to grab my center mark tool from midway on the ribbon bar, and I'm going to work my way around and create as many of the center marks as possible so that I can have a center marked object here. Go ahead and set up my center marks here. And now I'm ready to do my center lines. I'm going to grab my center line bisector tool here and go ahead. So I don't need to center mark this, as that center line is coming down through that particular hole. Grab this hidden line and the other side to set up a center line here and center line each one of these particular holes and keep moving around the drawing, setting up all the center lines possible. Now what I can do here is go ahead and center line this feature. What I'm going to need to do now is go ahead and then extend this particular center line above, and this is when I'm going to extend the center line so that it does extend approximately 0.25 past the edge of the object here. Okay, so now we have center lines in the correct position. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start setting up some information here for location, and I'm going to do that by selecting center mark to center mark and then being able to pull that particular dimension into its proper location. I'm also going to start working to the outside edges to set up my outside radius dimensions. And if I go back here to my quick sheet for center dimensioning, it says place all smallest dimensions first, from edging of object, place larger dimensions second, quarter inch from other dimensions. Be sure to show the witness gap, and then also place dimensions between views in neat orderly rows. Do not dimension to hidden lines. Rounded ends and arcs equal radius, holes, and diameter. So this is a rounded end arc that I see here. That will definitely be a radius dimension. And of course all holes will be diameter. So I'm going to go ahead and explain some of that stuff that we just were talking about here. So for a particular feature like this, if we're going to do smaller dimensions first, what we're going to do is I'm going to grab the bottom of this part, and then I'm going to grab the green dot at the end of the line here. This is going to be a smaller dimension, so I'm going to pull it out. And Inventor is set up currently to lock out at 3/8, and you can see that where it pulls out and locks out at 3/8 from the edge of the object. And then I'm going to go ahead and create the larger dimension. So I'm going to pull out in this direction, and then that's set up now to lock out at 1/4 past the first dimension. So we have that set up, so they're going to lock out there for itself. Then what I'm going to do is go ahead and keep moving forward for the dimensions for rounded ends. It's my radius. Then I'm going to go ahead and set up dimensions for my holes. So go ahead and select, and it's already going to be set up here at the proper diameter. and then I'm going to go ahead again and set up a diameter dimension for the center hole. Now, a few things to set up here is with that, we're going to have some notation to add. For the outside holes, there's two of these particular outside holes. Here it is, 9/16 drill. And we're actually going to keep everything in decimals here today because we're going to give a tolerance later in decimals. So 9/16 drill will be a decimal, and we need to add drill in two holes to that particular dimension so we have the note set up. So this particular feature, in order to get the note behind the dimension, we're just going to double click on the dimension, and then we can type behind these greater than less than symbols. This is telling Inventor to go look at the object to get the information for the dimension. So after that is when I just hit space and I can start typing the information necessary. So drill is the operation, and then I'll space it or return it to the next line here and then type in two holes. And that's going to show up, as you can see, alongside the dimension here. At this point, I'm ready to come in and start setting up the notation or the tolerance notation, and I can do that by double-clicking on that particular dimension. And at the top of the Edit Dimension box, I see Precision and Tolerance. I'm going to select that tab. And with this particular dimension, I'm going to mimic this high and low deviation dimension, and it's 1.625, 1.621, and then the operation is a bore. So we're going to go ahead and go into the see here, deviation. No, I want stacked upper and lower limits. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the upper 1.625 and then the lower is 1.621. And that doesn't change. This is actually rounding still because I need to change this primary tolerance. So I'm going to go ahead and change that primary tolerance information here so I get 3 decimal places. Then I'm going to move back to the text box and hit space and type in bore, because bore is the operation that will be used to create that hole and the tolerance. So with that set up, I can go ahead and hit OK, and then I can see that I definitely need to move some stuff around because I don't want this information running across my dimension and extension lines. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to relocate this particular note by grabbing that green dot, and I'm going to move this up top of the part here so it's more clearly visible. And I'm actually going to keep my leaders here at an angle which is approximately going to be either 30, 45, or 60 degrees from any horizontal line in my drawing or the top and bottom of the title block. I'm also going to keep these parallel to each other to give them a nice uniform look. As I continue to dimension, I can come down to this particular feature and select it. And I can pull this up again, trying to mimic that same angle with my leader. And I'm going to go ahead and drop that dimension. Now, this is a radius dimension. This should actually be a drilling operation. So I'm not going to utilize this radius dimension. I'm going to then delete it. And I'm going to place a new dimension here by selecting, pulling, and then right-clicking to find the dimension type. And I actually want to have a diameter, because all holes are generally made by a drilling operation and all drill bits are sized by diameter. So with this set up at 0.25, I'll then double click, because then I can add the drilling operation to the end of the dimension. So setting this up, I can now go back to my part and just take a look. See, there's my 1/4 inch 0.25 drill operation, and moving down through, I have hole, the drill operation for those, and I have the tolerance and bore set up. So I can now continue dimensioning the rest of this object and adding fillets, where fillets are also going to be created, and I'm going to add a note for my fillets, because here fillets are set up as 1/8 round or 1/8 radius. I'm going to then add a note to this so I don't have to dimension all of these objects by grabbing the big text box, and I'm just going to create a text box here that's going to then say all fillets are 0.125 in radius. By doing this, that allows me to then dimension one of these particular fillets, maybe 2 of them, and that would let anybody reading this drawing know that these fillets are 0.125. Now, this is set up, it's rounding, so I'm going to double click on that, go to Precision Tolerance, and I'm going to change that primary unit to have 3 decimal places, and then hit OK. That takes care of that radius, and then any other fillet information necessary can be gathered from the note here. Need to pull some information here for the depth of this hole. So we'll go ahead and grab the hole and then move this over into that first position, moving it off the part so it is more clearly read. And I actually think this needs to move out to the second position. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to just continue to add the remaining dimensions necessary. I'm going to need a dimension for the outside of this particular circular part. So I'm going to pull that up, keeping roughly the same opposite angle. So 2.5 would be the diameter of this rounded feature. I have location for the hole, have drilling operation. Looking around the part, seeing this is pretty close to being finished, I still have yet to use this right side view. If the right side view is not necessary for dimensioning or to explain the object in any additional detail, what we could actually do is select the right side view and eliminate it. We could then go ahead and just center the objects, the two views, over the sheet, and this would be certainly acceptable for this bearing part.